Over the years, I have been blessed to meet so many really smart people who have just absolutely great ideas. I don't remember exactly when. I'm guessing it was late 2014, maybe early 2015, somewhere in that time area. A customer by the name of Sam comes into the shop and he says, Brian, I made this light for the Dylan. Is this something you'd be interested in? I can make them at home and you can sell them. Yeah, sure. Let me see what you got. So he hands me this, and this is the original one that he gave to me. And he made out of a 20 gauge hull. Now, he just scored a 10 out of 10 right there, because a reloader guy who makes something for reloading and does it out of a hull, 20 gauge hull, you got a perfect 10 right there. So he takes this 20 gauge hull and he has this little LED cluster in there and he solders up on a cord and he puts this little O-ring right there. Drop that into that center hole in the tool head on my 650 that I had set up on the bench. Plug it in, and this thing just floods the little area with light exactly where I want it. And it's like the heavens opened up. Oh! I absolutely love it. Make these things, I want to sell them. Now, I don't know how far after that, but it was, I'm going to guess, around 2016 that I started seeing other manufacturers adding something similar, same idea, into their product lineup. Inline Fab had them, others had it. Now, if anybody had something like this prior to Sam walking through the door, I don't know. If they did, maybe you got the idea somewhere else, but if not, I want to give credit where credit's due. And nobody is doing something so cool as to do it with a 20 gauge hull. That is something I truly appreciate. The inventiveness, the creativeness, somebody who does this, thinks about it, and comes up with a really cool idea. Another fellow who would come into the shop, his name was Ron. Ron's retired. I think in that time he's probably in his 80s. He was coming into the shop frequently with another buddy of his. And Ron is sitting in his garage, and he's a guy who likes to think. I have had my father-in-law, who's passed on now. He was a guy who really emphasized using your head. He was a Navy man. He did electronics for the Navy, and he had this little plaque that was on his desk with one word: THIMK. Think, 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 think it through. So Ron comes up with this idea. He takes a pair of pliers, cuts off one side, a little short, drills a hole, taps it, puts in a screw, and then he solders up this little holder affair. And he's got here a universal decapping die. And it kind of works on the same idea that Lee has with the universal, just a narrow rod, and you've got to stop right there. So you knock out your old primer, and then you can flip it around and you have this scraper here, so you can scrape the bottom of the primer pocket and clean that up. Now, he brought me a bunch of these things, and I still have a few to sell, but just out of respect to Ron and to Sam, two smart guys who come up with cool ideas, this is American ingenuity. This is, folks, this is why the United States is the powerhouse that it is, because there are people like that. Now, that doesn't mean that, okay, that's the greatest, most earth-shattering, innovative thought that ever came across, putting a light on the tool head on your 650 so you can see what you're doing. But this is the process of people that use their brain. Critical thinking skills is sort of what I'm getting at. And then Ron also had in his garage manufacturing facility this trimmer. Now, the idea is very similar to what Lee has, and Lyman's got a similar affair, to where you drop this onto your overall length gauge, and it's going to stop its forward movement here on the shoulder, and then it trims it to length. And this more caliber specific, 308, 30-06, 223, whatever. But two guys who I just have an enormous amount of respect for, who came up with a couple of really cool ideas. And fortunately, I've been able to sell stuff like that over the years. And I hope if you've got something in your head, don't sit around talking about what you're going to do. Just do it and get it out there. And yeah, sometimes, people will come along, they'll see it, they've got resources, they think it's a great idea, boom, they jump on it, they can bring it to market, and you can't. You're just some guy with no money sitting in his garage tinkering with something. Don't underestimate the power of you with no resources sitting in your garage doing something like that. Happy trails. This is a gratuitous mugshot for Acura bullets.